55-gallon drums of ink waste, toxic chemicals that were taken from the Watchtower headquarters in Brooklyn and actually dumped up there in northern New York, or central New York. And we found that quite interesting because, the Watchtower has brought out in the past that, at least in their publication, let's go specifically here to a publication, the Watchtower publications, the Wake publication, 1980, and this is after they were burying this for years at Watchtower Farms. Notice here, in fact, they show a drum, a drum of chemicals being discarded and uprooted from the earth, from the ground. Now notice it says here, better things. This is on page 5, the Awake, November 22nd, 1980. It says, better things for better living through chemistry. During the 1930s, that was a slogan that heralded the new age. However, little did anyone suspect that these better things would create an environmental Frankenstein monster. Well, they're talking about chemical waste. What do you do with all of these? Now, some of the chemicals that were being dumped in the ground, according to this newspaper article, it says the investigation found that several 55-gallon drums contained chemicals, including inks and solvents that were used at the Watchtower printing press off Red Mill Road. The gigantic printing operation dates back to the 1970s and produces all the religious literature in groups, all the religious literature that the groups distribute across America. Now, the thing is, what was in these drums? Well, these drums contain benzene, xylene, and other chemicals that have been shown to affect human health. Construction debris and polluted soil was also uncovered at these sites. Now, friends, I have no problem with it up front. I mean, this did take place back in the 1970s. A lot of companies did dump drums and chemicals and what have you in the ground. But what I do have a problem with, at that time it wasn't even illegal, but what I have a problem with is the Watchtower and this Awake that I just mentioned actually talking about this monstrous problem going on in the country. And it goes on to say that people were then delighted because of all of these new chemicals that they were finding out about that they could clean their homes with, and rayon, nylons were being made, pesticides. But nobody really realized the hazards, the problems this could create down the road. It says, but millions of gallons of chemical waste came with these new things that nature forgot. Well, who do you think is putting chemicals in the ground here? The Watchtower is, but they're suggesting everybody else is doing it, but them, evidently. Tragically, these wastes were often carelessly dumped. The stuff that was tucked away in the ground, the Environmental Protection Agency said. So here we have the Watchtower condemning people for ruining the earth, but yet at the same time, they were in with it. They were part of it. And then on page 14, it said, what hinders proper disposal? Well, why do companies, the Watchtower is saying here, why do they put chemicals in the ground and they're not disposing of it properly? They say the main word is greed. Well, that was them, friends. They were doing the same thing. Now, safer methods are costly, and many companies use cheap, illegal dumping instead. And they're going on because of the cost that many companies did this. Well, they were doing the same thing. But see, friends, this is the very thing that the Watchtower doesn't want its rank and file to know. And I'm sure that never came up in a meeting at the Kingdom Hall. Dick, what do you think? Is that a travesty of justice or what?
Well, it epitomizes hypocrisy for sure. They'd like everyone to think they're squeaky clean and that they would never do anything that's unscriptural. Well, ruining the earth is definitely unscriptural, and they'll even tell you that God will destroy those who are destroying the earth. Yeah. So God will destroy the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society.
That's in Revelation. Revelation, I believe it's the 18th chapter, that God will ruin those ruining the earth. But yet they're a religious organization, and here they are hiding all those toxic chemicals in the ground at Wallkill. Now, I don't know if you guys heard about this or not, but the Gilead School. Now, We all know the Gilead School is a school for training missionaries, and actually they've been doing this since the 1940s. But just this year, in fact in 2011 I should say, they are closing the Gilead School. And I found this really interesting because, I mean, the Jehovah's Witnesses are a worldwide organization. So I'm wondering, why are they going to close down the missionaries? They're not going to have missionaries going into foreign lands anymore. And one of the reasons that was stated is that they want to train people for the local congregations rather than sending them around the world to some of these rural areas. They'd rather keep the witnesses preaching in urban areas. Now, the reason, why would you think that would be? Why don't they want the witnesses in these rural areas, in these poor areas?
Well, there's not much money in the poor areas.
That was going to be my same comment.
If you can bring someone into the truth, and one day that person's probably going to pass off the earth, and if he owns anything, he's probably, like most Jehovah's Witnesses, they're going to give the society their inheritance.
Absolutely.
That's true.
Well, that's the decision I came up with as well. It's all about money. It's all about greed, and so we don't have much more to say about that. But what they are going to do, instead of missionaries, they're going to train special operatives of the Watchtower, special pioneers and what have you, to be able to be trained on in urban areas, in city areas, and to be able to proselytize in those areas where the money is, Dick. You're absolutely right. Hey, we got a lot of things we're talking about here today on Eyes on the Watchtower. But the eyes that have been watching the Watchtower for many years now is the Internet. And this has really exposed the Watchtower for who they are, a very dangerous and a destructive cult. As a matter of fact, in the August 15th Watchtower edition, that'd be the 2011 Watchtower, it says that anyone with an Internet connection can become a desktop professor pretending to be in the know without even revealing his name. And there are no rules on who can publish ideas, information, images, and suggestions. Well, we all know that takes place on the Internet. You really can't believe everything, but the Watchtower really wants to make it plain to the witnesses that, you know, the Internet is evil and don't believe a word that's said on there. Now, they come up with this new term. It says, do not, this is right out of the pages of the Watchtower, do not become an Internet Eve. And you'll see the picture behind me. And it says, be critical and be suspicious of information before trusting it. Number one, ask who published this material. Number two, what are the author's credentials? Number three, is there any bias? Where did the author get the information? Does he supply sources that can be checked? Well, I must say that the Watchtower doesn't always supply sources that can be checked. I mean, how many times have we read in the Watchtower publications that some scholar said, an authority of the state said? How many times do we hear that? Now, this Internet Eve, they're trying to, as you can see the picture behind me, I'll show it to you right here as well, but that's the picture. And yes, the picture shows that it's like a snake. It's a computer cable that resembles a snake, the serpent in the Garden of Eden. Well, we have a lot more to talk about on Eyes on the Watchtower, and we want to let you know that we'll be coming back and seeing you soon, so stay tuned to the future.